Good morning. It is December 12th, 2023. It's Tuesday morning. And this is Robson at CEO Technician on X. I've started to call it X more often now. At Goldfinger on CEO.ca. And this is my first try at this video. It might be the final try, or I might do a retake later. Anyway, the title of the video, it's never different this time. The psychology of market cycles. This chart you've probably seen before. I'm sure you've seen it before. And it is timeless. The psychology of a market cycle. And what I love about this chart is that it can be used in almost any market. It can be used to analyze crypto. It can be used to analyze junior miners. It can be used to analyze biotech. It can be used to analyze the S&P 500. These cycles play out over and over again. And they're particularly powerful. This guide, essentially, these stages are particularly powerful, I believe, in junior mining and biotech. So more speculative sectors where there is not cash flow, there's not earnings, there's not dividends, there's fewer fundamentals to hang your hat on and really analyze. It's much more speculative and sentiment driven. So my assertion in this video is that it's never different. Every stock goes through these cycles at one point in time on different time frames, looks a little different. The magnitude of the moves is a little different, but at the end of the day, it's all the same. Timeless market truths, the same cycles repeat over and over again in many different stocks. But each time that a new stock, let's call it a new stock, moves into a thrill and euphoria phase, it feels like it's different this time. It feels like this time, this stock really can't go down. That this is really the real deal and it can only go higher. And that's always incorrect. The most dangerous emotion an investor can experience is complacency, because it is at this stage that the risk is usually the greatest. So look at where the complacency stage is. So we have optimism and thrill and euphoria, and then we get to complacency. So optimism is usually actually a great place to buy. People start to get optimistic. It's still pretty early. Not everybody knows about it. But by the time you get to the thrill and the euphoria stage, it's very well known. The story is saturated and everybody's bullish. And even people who are a little skeptical are afraid to say anything, afraid to go short. They're just in awe and pissed off that they didn't buy it in the optimism phase, right? So after euphoria comes complacency, because you have that spike down off the euphoric peak, and then it wobbles a little bit, it comes back a little bit, but it doesn't get back to the high, and then it consolidates. And it's like the quiet before the storm, and the storm is the bear market. So it's complacency stage, which is the most dangerous one, because the price is still very high. The boat is still very crowded. The bandwagon is full still, and the reality hasn't hit yet. Complacency is very, very dangerous. The more we interpret, and I want you to read that as make up the facts, the story, the more likely we are to make big mistakes as investors. This is especially true in highly speculative market sectors such as junior mining and biotech. So what I mean by that is in biotech, we saw this many times during the pandemic, 2020 and 2021, people talking about drug approvals or COVID tests that were supposed to be approved. Sona Nanotech was a great example of this in 2020. So everybody was talking about their COVID test, that their test was better than what was on the market, their rapid test, their rapid antigen test, and they would get approval. Well, that was all made up. The company didn't say that. The company didn't put that out in news or in a presentation. Investors, pumpers made up this fantastic, wild, far-fetched story that not only was Sona's test better, but that it was definitely going to get approved. And it was going to save lives and save the world. And literally, it was false on all counts. The test wasn't better. It didn't get approved. And junior mining, the same thing. Maybe you get one or two drill holes, they're pretty good results, and then people start extrapolating to, well, the next 100 holes are going to be great, and this is going to be the greatest mine in the world, right? Obviously, I'm taking it to an extreme, but we've seen some extremes before. Anybody remember Novo Resources in 2017? NVO, early July 2017, trading 66 cents. October 2017, trading nearly $9. 3 months. 3 months. 3 months, more than a 10x. And I believe at the peak, it was $1 billion market cap. $1 billion. And this is an exploration stage company that didn't even have a resource. And it was far-fetched tales that were being spun by many people on the chat boards, many bloggers, conferences. They drilled nuggets, gold nuggets at a conference. They the Denver Gold Conference in September every year. They did a live feed into Australia. These guys were drilling into the earth and finding gold nuggets and then showing it on camera. And it created a frenzy. That was right around here, created a frenzy, right? So it was just promotion 101. Now, optimism is a necessary ingredient to be a successful investor. You can't be a great investor without being optimistic sometimes. You have to have optimism. If you're always pessimistic, you're never going to have any big wins, and you're probably going to be shorting a lot and losing money. All those perma bears that you see in financial media, guys saying market's going to crash, they're wrong 90% of the time. And they don't make any money. They only make money by selling books and products to suckers who want to hear that stuff. But that doesn't make money. Pessimism and being bearish all the time doesn't make money. You get 2008 once every 15 or 20 years, and that's it. However, a bit too much optimism can become a dangerous thing. We can get too caught up in our own bullshit. We believe our own bullshit sometimes. I've done it. You've done it. Everybody's done it at some point. Some of the guys who were touting Novo at $8 a share in 2017, they actually believed this was the greatest discovery in the world. They actually did. A lot of them did. Okay. But they were mad and they were seeking out confirmation bias, and they weren't testing their hypothesis with scrutiny. They weren't hearing and being open to contrarian opinions. They were just in an echo chamber of bullishness, that this could only be the greatest, discovery, that Quentin Henney's the greatest, geo in the history of the world, yada, yada, yada. And they were wrong. They were horribly wrong. Where is Novo today? 13 cents. 13 cents. 13 cents. Here's the round trip. Here's your greatest gold discovery in history, pump. And here's reality. Reality biting hard for the last couple of years, right? And frankly, look, I'm not trying to cast blame or lay fault. Mining and exploration is a really hard business. It's really tough. But this is a terrific example of animal spirits run wild extremes that can occur in financial markets. It's not just junior mining, it happens in all sectors. Okay, we see bubbles all the time. What about crypto in 2021 and NFTs? People have lost 99% of their investment in non-fungible tokens. I don't even know what non-fungible tokens are. It's a made up hocus pocus financial fraud that people fell for. The first loss is the best loss. So in Sona, when it started to roll over, especially these big gaps that occurred, the first loss was the best loss. People had an opportunity to just get out. Some probably still had a gain here in November. Even if it was a loss, just get out. The story's not what it was touted to be. It was not as promised. The valuation is very frothy, very elevated, and there's a lot of downside. So Sona hit $16 a share in summer of 2020. Where is it today? 19 cents. 19 cents. That is a 99% decline. 99% loss. Novo, 99% loss. Sona, 99% loss. Okay? The first loss is the best loss. Just take the loss. The high flyer starts to keel over and sell off. The first loss is the best loss. There are more examples of investors who sold for a profit that would later have turned into a loss if they hadn't sold than examples of investors who sold for a small profit and missed out on a bigger gain, a 30x or 40x, 50x gain. We just hear a lot more about those missed opportunities. The guys who sold Great Bear at $1 and it went to $29, right? Than we do about the guys who sold Sona at 8 and avoided watching it drop to 19 cents, or the guys who sold Novo at 4 and didn't hang on to see 13 cents, right? There's a lot more of those good sales than there are of the missed out wins in Great Bear, right? We just hear about those missed out bigger gains. And people use that as part of a promotional tactic to get investors to hold on and not sell. HODL, diamond hands, right? We saw a lot of that sort of psychology in EMO, Emerita Resources in 2021, from 20 cents to over $4. So this was more than a 20x in about 9 months in 2021. I'm not going to go into the whole story, but it was a tremendous promote. I'll just call it that. I'm not saying anybody did anything wrong, but there was a lot of confirmation bias. There was a lot of optimism, excessive optimism. And the higher the price went, the farther the chart climbed, the more bullish and convinced and confident, sure, everybody was they were literally dead right. Dead right. From $4 to 41 cents, dropped as low as 26 cents a couple months ago. So a 90% decline. Not as bad as Sona, not as bad as Novo, but still not good. Minus 90%, not good. Not good. There's way more examples of people who lost a lot of money in email than those that made money during the 2021 run. I can guarantee you that. I've heard some of them. And all the story from 2021 about how this AZN is coming home. They're going to win this big mine. They're going to win the award of it. Hasn't happened. There were even timelines. It was going to happen sometime in 2022. Then it was going to happen sometime in 2023. Well, it's almost 2024. It still hasn't happened. Look at the stock. 41 cents, down from over $4, down 90%. And so those are sort of extreme examples. Stocks that were once major high flyers that fell very low. And they all went through these stages. These three have been through every single stage in the market cycle in the last several years. They've seen it all. They've seen hope. They've seen thrill. They've seen euphoria. They've seen complacency. They've seen denial. Lots of denial. Not a river in Africa. Denial, panic, capitulation, anger, depression. They've seen it all. And now, a couple of examples today. And I want to be clear, I'm not making a market call on either of these stocks. I'm not predicting what's going to happen in the share price. I want to be very clear on that. I'm just looking at the charts right now. So Hercules Silver. So you could look back on this. Where is Hercules Silver today on this daily chart, right? Last several months, we were under 20 cents, went to 162, currently 120. Where is it on this chart? I would say that here's the hope phase. Here's the optimism phase. And we're probably somewhere in this area, if I had to guess. Somewhere between optimism and thrill. Could be the end of optimism, could be the start of thrill. I'm not sure, but somewhere here, right? And remember, the optimism phase is usually the best place to buy. So we might be just leaving the best place to buy, or we might be in the best place to buy. I'm not sure. Again, I'm not making a prediction here. Okay, I'm not making a market call, so please don't act like I am. I'm just thinking about what could be happening here. And looking at the weekly chart, well, maybe it looks a little different if we look at it on a weekly chart. Maybe we're further into, maybe we're even in the thrill stage. Some people could maybe even make the argument, I don't agree with it, but you could make the argument. Remember, I'm not making a market call here. I'm just thinking about what's going on here, analyzing it. Some people might say we're in the complacency stage now, that we've had the euphoria and now we're coming off that euphoric high and we're in complacency. I don't know. Some people might say that. I don't necessarily agree, but some people might say that. So all depending upon what time frame you're looking at, you could see it a little differently. Patriot battery metals. Okay, so this is the weekly chart. So Patriot, one of the best stories of the last couple of years in the junior mining sector. Fantastic windfalls for early investors from 2021 and early 2022. This was like a 100x from low to the high. The low in 2021 to the high earlier this year is a 100x. Not sure if anybody actually had a 100x, but that was the share price return. So it went through all of these stages. Definitely reached euphoria sometime early 2023, January, February. And now we're on the way down. We've been through complacency. Seems like it's somewhere in anxiety or denial, could be on the weekly chart. But if you go to the daily chart, well, maybe you can make an argument that this is much farther along, and we've been through the complacency, the anxiety, the panic, and now maybe we're in anger or depression, right? And it could be bottoming out here. Hard to say. I will say that for as high of a flyer as this was, the 50% drop it's had from its high is pretty standard in my estimation, based upon my experience. And actually, performance is pretty good. So I would err on the side of preferring to be bullish on Patriot here rather than being bearish and looking for a further drop, maybe down to $7 or $6. Okay. But again, I'm not making a market forecast in this video. So don't hold me to that. I'm just giving you my thoughts and my analysis here, all depending upon how you want to view it. But there's no doubt that Patriot has already had its euphoria moment. It's not 100% clear that Hercules has had its euphoria moment yet, but it could pretty soon. We will have to see. So these are my thoughts. It's never different this time. It's never different. So as soon as you start telling yourself, oh, this could be different this time, smack yourself across the face twice and watch this video. It's never different this time. It only seems like it. Hope you found some value in this video. If you did, please hit the like button, subscribe to my YouTube channel at Goldfinger Capital, and thank you for your time.